Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned and share them with us as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the reverse podcast method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. But our special guest for today on the show is Larry Keiter. He's the owner of Larry Keiter Coaching, providing personal success process for individuals, teams, and organizations, and with authentic leadership and presence as well, which is brilliant. So, welcome to the show, Larry. And I want to start off with a question I always love to start off with. And here it is. If you were able to go back in time to when you started your very first business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Absolutely. No fear of failure, right? Do it like you mean it. A lot of times people have the natural gifts inside them, but they don't realize it. Even if they realize it, they don't have the guts to do it. I tell myself back then is just go for it.
Yeah. Just go for it, not feel failure. Here's the thing. I think that a lot of people they get it, the idea, the theory behind it, right? Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds great, of course, of course. But then what happens? Fear. We end up not
Yeah.
doing anything. So,
Yeah.
what's the biggest piece of advice that you've learned to, as the famous quote goes, feel the fear and do it anyway? But what's some real tangible, practical advice that you can give people that, even though they may feel that fear, on how to press forward to still be successful?
Absolutely. Start on purpose, Jason. Just like you did with me. You sent me a note and said, "Hey, Larry, why don't you join me on here?" You didn't have to describe anything. You didn't have to sugarcoat it. You didn't have to tease me. You just simply said, "Here I am." And I tell people that start your day on purpose is a way to start your career on purpose. You know, we've all heard the great story about make your bed. That's a microcosm of people doing things well. Start with the little things, do them well, and it builds to a big thing.
Yeah. Do you know what? When you said make your bed for a second there, I was like, have I heard that story? And then of course, yeah, of course I've heard that story.
Yeah,
But let's talk about that. I think that's a really
absolutely.
important thing because when you think about starting your day off right, and I'm not a morning person at all, by the way, right? I'm an evening person. I find my energy in the evenings. But I have learned over time that starting my morning off right doesn't necessarily mean waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, but it's just starting it off right. Can you talk
Absolutely.
about that? Because I love that whole principle you've just brought up.
Yeah, Jason, I learned a valuable lesson when I was working with Walmart and we were opening stores like crazy. Here in Nebraska, we had this 350th Walmart store. York, Nebraska was one of my stores. We actually trained the German district managers from Wertkopf over here in Nebraska when Walmart was marching towards Europe. I mean, these things are universal. And what I would do is I would put my leadership on these Franklin Covey planners, right? Because I'm high discipline, so I just assumed every problem was a nail because I would hit it with a hammer. Not everybody uses a planner. Not everybody wakes up at 5 a.m., but everybody starts on purpose in a different way. For you, Jason, it might be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is what I do. 5 o'clock, I have hit 7 customers. 9 o'clock at night, I'm reflecting. So your starting on purpose begins the day before. My starting on purpose began this morning at 4 a.m. I don't always like to get up that early, but today I was so excited about everything going on. But my biggest lesson is use the authenticity of the individual. Don't try to make people in your image. Make them the best image of themselves.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it's a great point as well. Like, first of all, I've always been envious of people like you that can get up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. Not that I can't, but it's just one of those things. I've just found that my energy comes in the evening times. But one of the things you just mentioned, and I love it. This is something that I geek out over a little bit. People don't understand the importance of this. You talked about a Franklin Covey planner. Now, I don't think that necessarily everyone has to use a Franklin Covey planner, but I want to hear your thoughts around that because here's the thing. I always tell my clients, I use a Remarkable. It's a digital notebook. I used to have write everything down on paper. And then I just have notebooks and notebooks and I can never find it. So I've got one place, it still feels like paper. But the planner, when I started doing this several years ago, it changed everything in my business, in my life, the way I did everything. And most people don't like talking about it because it sounds really boring, but it's one of the most powerful things that I've ever implemented in my life. So since you brought it up, I'd love to hear your thoughts around it, and because I'd love to hear what you're learning from it and the implementation of it. Because one, I like I said, I geek out over it. And I love hearing people talk about how they use planners because I know how impactful it is. But maybe even if it just inspires one person to start doing this, it can really change their life.
You and I are going to get along swimmingly because I used the planner. The second Walmart store I ever managed had 300 people, and I remember being so overwhelmed I thought I was having a heart attack. And I called my boss, Carl. Carl was amazing. I was a young manager. I was all at 27 years old running this 120,000 square foot retail store. And he said, I'll be there tomorrow. And he brings in this Franklin Covey planner and he said, I'm going to change your life. And I'm like, yeah, good try. You know, I'm not having a heart attack, but I'm stressed the hell out. And so he showed me the basics, the mechanics of starting on purpose way back then. And that changed my life because what it caused me to do is strategically think about my day, not react to it, not be a fireman and putting out all these fires, staying true to the course, and then seeing my discretionary time and visualizing and everything that comes along with thoughtful preparation. It doesn't have to be 4 a.m., Jason. It just has to be.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so important. And the key thing you said there as well is it's strategically thinking about your day. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I've found, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this as well, is people always they write task lists. And I always tell people a task list is okay, not bad, but it's why people always say, why am I so busy and never get anything done? Right? Because a task list is things you got to get done. You got to do your shopping, you got to pay this bill and all that busy work necessary. You got to get it done. It's not strategic in what they're doing. So, what are some of the key things you learned strategically on how you've planned your day that has helped you be so successful?
Yeah. So here's one of the major things. And by the way, I have a current client that's a CFO in a large organization, and he just resists the structure of a planner. Right? He's all about the numbers, but he is not about me making him conform. Right? But what I talk to him about is share me your process. And his process is elaborate. He goes through and flips his paper, and it's not a numbered one like mine, but I'll tell you why that's important in a second. It's not a date driven one, it's not a space driven one. His is free form where he writes it down. At the end of the night, he pulls it up, goes through it, checks it all off. I've seen it, it works for him. But I will tell you something we learned at Walmart through the years is you handle every merchandise piece one time. If you multiply that and you start putting it here and putting it there, move it, you lose time, dollars, shrinkage, all those things. So the concept of handling every piece of merchandise one time, efficient distribution, that's what the internet has done with us, Amazon showing that. That also applies to communication. When you have a thought, don't put it down today if you're not going to get to it. Put it on September 13th or November 13th, rather. Put it out 2 weeks when you'll have time to deal with it. That, my friend, is thinking strategically, but not only thinking, acting strategic. Don't put stuff down because it's not a writing exercise. And that's what a lot of people think. You're just making me conform. No, I want you to think about where this note is going to lie. Don't handle it more than once because you'll lose its impact.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's exactly what I thought as well, Larry. I thought I'm just journaling, I'm just writing stuff down, and there's benefit in that, but it's the strategic approach that you're
Yes.
doing every day, and the way that it made me show up every day and think about
Yes.
things, and it's really impactful. And the thing that love to talk to you about here as well, it kind of goes along with the journaling side, but it's the compound effect of those strategic little bits every single day because. Not only with journaling, but other things that we do, it's that those little bits that may not seemingly mean a lot to begin with, the first couple weeks, maybe in the first couple months. But over a
Yeah.
period of time, I think make a big, big, big difference in that. And I'd love for you to
Huge.
talk about that. And anyone listening to this, you can't see Larry, but Larry is a very fit guy. I've been working on my health over the last several months, and I've lost almost 30 pounds, got down to
Wow.
about 16.7% body fat, which is I'm still getting closer. But what I've realized is those compound effects of just daily discipline And everyone hates that word discipline. So I can see you getting excited about this. So I'd love to hear, like, what are your thoughts around it, man?
Yeah, I received a little thing from my boss one time that said nobody was ever going to outwork me. She didn't say I got the smartest leader award. It was nobody's going to outwork you. So I made mistakes, and I think there's smarter people than I out there. But I will tell you, Jason, I love the fact. How'd you lose the weight, by the way? What did you do?
I say strict diet. I didn't starve myself. As a matter of fact, I eat more than I ever have before right now. But it's very specific in what I'm eating, and then what I'm doing is I go to the gym 6 days a week. Little bits of
Little bits of
cardio, mainly muscle training, weight training, and the fat has just fallen off of me. I am in better shape. I'm 46. I'm in better shape today than I think I've ever been. Even less, still had less body fat as a teenager, but I have almost like a 4 pack coming through, which I've never had in my entire life. So that's what I did
I
and
love it.
continue to do.
Four pack at any age is a delight to have. But what you just explained there is the basics of what I try to teach leaders or individuals. How you do anything is how you do everything. And if you look at the journey through life, not as a series of like, gonna get to here. No, let's get to here and let's get to here and let's make that a part of our mission, our vision, our core values. When you start eating healthy, and this is why I love going to the gym, my discipline loves it, but I also love eating. And so I had to get those two aligned and say, Larry, you can eat the calories, but let's look at what calories you have. And that is where I was 260 at one time. Now I'm back down to 200 because it doesn't just come naturally. And if you look at that person and you say they're successful because they inherited it, they're successful because they're lucky, baloney. I served 100 leaders for this book that I'm putting out. 10th on the list of 1 through 10 items, luck was number 10. Now, they all said the harder they worked, the luckier they got. So I will tell you, if you go to the gym and you diet, you get Jason, right? If you don't, you get the old Larry who likes to eat and likes to work out. But all of that, Jason, all that to say, all the things that I talk about are really like going to the gym. If you don't like journaling, figure out a place to put your notes down, especially successes. When I talk about journaling, if you were just to look back at your day and say, what did I achieve? What did I get? You'll have a great task list ready in your head for tomorrow because you see what you were successful at and what you missed. That's a reverse planner, right? You're looking back and saying, what did I do? It's a correction of errors if you want to do it negatively, or it's a celebration of success if you want to look at it positively. There's my task list for tomorrow. I'm going to do more of that. So that's how it applies to anything you do, whether it's the gym, whether it's relationships, the little things that you do. By the way, we'd have happier people in this world if they planned to be together purposely rather than say, well, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. I think that power of intention, isn't it? Makes all the difference.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, what's over the next, say, 1 to 3 years in your business? What are your goals? What are you looking to achieve?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jason. So, I'm looking over at a 10-year plan that I wrote back in the year 2000, right? My wife and I sat down, we wrote a 10-year plan. At the time, I was still with Walmart. And I put three paths out there, and all three were good ones. One was to stay with Walmart, two others were two different industries. Well, one of those paths has brought me right in front of you today, and that was to open my own business. So I believe in the power of planning, especially when you share it with somebody that's important to you. Because if you don't share it, you could scare them. Where the hell are you going? So
Yeah,
here's where we're going the next 3 to 5 years. I'm publishing 2 books this next year because, Jason, I love sharing this information that you just asked about. I had such a gift working for a company like Walmart for 22 years that the things that we did I thought were natural, but they were the basics done very well day after day after day. And then I worked for an insurance company, head of their talent, and I learned about how that relates to people development. And I've learned a lot from that, and I'm still learning. So these books are an effort for me to hone my skill, and I love it because my publisher says, "Hey, Larry, don't worry about publishing the perfect book. You'll publish the book that's to your potential." And I'm like,
yeah,
what's that mean? That
yeah.
means I'm doing it, I'm trying it, I'm fixing it. So, Jason, once I get these 2 books published, I'm going to continue to speak like this. I'm going to continue to coach leaders. I'm going to continue to share the information, just like you're sharing about how you lost weight. It's doing the basics very well and then making technology pay. Those two things
Mm.
I embrace every day, every morning.
I love it. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Listen, Larry, for people listening to this, if they want to get in touch with you to learn about more about what you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
I love it. Well, so I have a website. Believe it or not, it's LarryKeiterCoaching.com. Very simple. I also on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. It is a great platform, and I have a newsletter about the books that are coming out. Unleash Your Amazing. I haven't announced the second book yet. It's a child's book on psychological safety, but you'll get to learn about that soon. So LinkedIn is a great place to subscribe for my newsletter. And Jason, I'm delighted that I get a chance to talk with you over in the UK. I'm in central USA, and here we are collaborating together. What a delight. And thank you for what you've brought to this table. I appreciate it a lot.
No, man, it's my pleasure, and it is absolutely great to have you on the show. As I said before we started, I love your energy, and for anyone listening to this, uh, please feel free to reach out to Larry and check him out through the methods that he just mentioned there. So, but thank you for being on the show, Larry. And as a reminder for everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. And until next time, stay inspired.